Welcome. This week's message comes from Luke 19, verses 1 through 10, March 29th, 2020. Jesus and Zacchaeus. He entered Jericho and was passing through, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich, and he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled, "He has gone in to be with the guest of a man who is a sinner." And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost."
We have a dramatic reading for you that shows how Jesus can overcome loneliness and isolation for anyone who chooses to follow him. I'm sure many of us have felt isolated lately. This is presented as one half of a phone call to a telephone assistance center. Oh, we have another call. Hello, you've reached the telephone assistance center of the IRS, the Israel Revenue Service. My name is Zacchaeus. How may I assist you today? Yes, that's right, Zacchaeus. The name means pure and innocent. Yes, I understand your laughter, ma'am. I really do. I know that most people don't think of IRS agents as pure and innocent. So, where are you calling from? Jericho, excellent. Great place. Lots of history. Occupied our ancestors when they crossed the Jordan River and entered the Promised Land. Yes, I live there too, you know. Yes, I am. I'm a Jew, just like you. No, I'm not a dirty, rotten Roman. Yes, you are right. I work for the Romans, but I'm still a Jew. The Romans took Jericho about 90 years ago without much resistance. Like, what were we supposed to do against the most powerful army in the world? They can pretty much march in and take whatever they want. No, you're not listening. I'm not defending Rome. I'm reviewing history. General Mark Antony had an estate here, and he liked it so much that he gave it to Cleopatra. After the two of them committed suicide, Augustus gave the estate to Herod, and here we are. No, ma'am, I was not a fan of Herod. I remember that he was so jealous of his brother-in-law that he had him drowned in a pool right here in Jericho. Ma'am, may I put you on hold for a minute? Thank you. Just between you and me, I don't know why I get so much criticism from my own people. I do my best to keep the 10 Commandments, and it's not like I've murdered anyone. Some people think that I steal, but tax collecting is a tricky business. I know for a fact that many of my own neighbors have cheated on their taxes. I think the reason I get so much criticism is that I'm the chief tax collector, and I'm rich. I oversee all the tax collections in this area, so I have a team of people who collect taxes, tariffs, and tolls from Jews, my own people. Someone's got to do it. Would they prefer a Rome collecting taxes from them? The system is open for abuse. I know, and people like me are assumed to be dishonest. Most of all, we're hated because we're cooperating with Rome. But look, I have to make a living. Ma'am, I'm back now. How can I help you? Yes, I can assist you with that. I'm good with numbers, so I can calculate your tax. When do you need this to be completed by? Maybe never, you say. Why is that? I see. You don't think you'll have to pay taxes to Rome because Jesus has come. Yes, I've heard people calling him the Son of David. They hope that he will lead an army like some sort of new King David and drive the Romans out. But, ma'am, I have to be honest with you. I think that's a stretch. I've seen the strength and brutality of the Roman army, and frankly, Jesus and a Jewish army would not have a chance. No, ma'am, I am not on the side of Rome. I'm just more interested in Jesus as a religious leader. He healed the servant of a Roman centurion. He forgave a sinful woman. He healed a boy with a demon. Best of all, I hear that he is a friend of tax collectors and sinners. That's exactly what I need. Yes, ma'am. Jesus is a friend of outcasts. I think that's good news. I hear what you're saying, but do you have a minute? I'd like to tell you what just happened to me yesterday. I looked out my window and I saw a crowd headed for town. I joined them and asked a man what was going on. Well, he ignored me, knowing who I was. Instead, he turned to a friend and said, "I hear that Jesus had just healed a blind beggar. Can you believe it? You know the guy I'm talking about. That disgusting beggar who always sits in the dirt outside of town. People are saying that he is now following Jesus into Jericho with a spring in his step." Well, I got excited when I heard this. Jesus had healed a man who was as reviled as any tax collector. But as we approached the edge of town, my heart sank. The sides of the road were packed with people, 5 or 6 deep. I began to work my way along the edge of the crowd, but I couldn't see a thing, even when I hopped up and down. Although I may sound tall on the phone, I'm only 4'11". You say I don't sound tall on the phone? Well, anyway, I knew I needed a plan, so I looked to where Jesus probably would enter Jericho. I ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree with large, low branches, perfect for climbing. I knew people would laugh at me. As you know, it's undignified for a grown man to run. Running is for kids. And a man of importance will never climb a tree. It's humiliating. But you know what? I didn't care. I just wanted to see Jesus. Well, the crowd continued to swell, and I was glad that I had my vantage point in the tree. I could see over the heads of everyone along the road, even the men and women who were looking up and laughing at me. I heard one of them say, "Look at Zacchaeus, up in a tree. He may be rich, but looks like an idiot." Yes, you're right. I probably did look like an idiot. Then Jesus and his entourage appeared. I had never seen Jesus before, but I immediately picked him out of the middle of the disciples. They were moving along quickly, with a sense of urgency, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea as they passed through town on their way to Jerusalem. As Jesus reached the sycamore tree, he turned his head up and looked straight into my eyes. I was so shocked that I almost lost my grip and fell out of the tree. Then he said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your home today." I tell you, I did not see that coming. The crowd was silent. People looked at Jesus, and then they looked at me, back and forth, and they were wondering, what in the world was he doing? Why was Jesus talking to someone with so little or no social standing? Well, I scrambled down the tree, and I almost flipped upside down when my robe caught on some branches, but somehow I managed to reach the ground safely. I pushed myself through the crowd until I found Jesus. He was taller than I am, but not by much. I brushed off a number of leaves from my clothing and then threw open my arms and said, Welcome, 1,000 welcomes. I was so honored that the great Jesus wanted to stay with me. The crowd was still stunned, but they were no longer silent. They knew that Jesus was breaking the code of purity by going to the house of an IRS agent. In addition, he was honoring a man who had just humiliated himself by running and then climbing a tree. The people began to grumble and said, "He has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. For shame, for shame." Jesus said nothing, but just continued to look at me as though I was the only person in the crowd. I had never seen such a loving gaze. The silence was awkward, so I broke it by saying, "Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much." Because Jesus had honored me with his presence, I felt a need to make amends for my past wrongs. I volunteered to pay people back 4-fold. Jesus said, "Today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and save the lost." I could hardly believe it. Jesus had restored my good status by calling me a son of Abraham. He had broken through my isolation by seeking me out and saving me. As long as I live, I will never be able to do enough to pay him back. But I am going to try, each and every day. And that is why I want to help you, ma'am. I want to do your taxes right. No, ma'am, I'm not trying to be a hero. Jesus is the hero, because he reached out to me and made me his friend. Wherever you are in your loneliness and isolation, he'll do the same for you. All you have... Where do you find Jesus? Well, Jesus is just about everywhere. He will probably find you. Thing is, when you want to find Jesus, that's the sort of moment you'll find him. It's like what God said through one of the prophets. "When you search for me, you will find me. If you seek me with all your heart, I will let you find me," says the Lord in Jeremiah chapter 29. So all you have to do is take the risk to move toward him. He will call you his friend. I guarantee that you will be thankful that he breaks through your loneliness. And you'll want to spend the rest of your life wanting to make him proud that he knows you. If this call has been helpful to you, please stay on the line for a short survey. This is Zacchaeus at the IRS.
This morning's time together with communion, let us reflect on the words that Jesus said to his disciples. When he gave the juice, he poured it into the cup, saying, "Drink this, all of you, for this is my blood shed for you." And then when he broke the bread, he took it and said, "This is the bread of my body given for you. So often as you drink of my blood and eat of my body, I shall remember you for all of your days until I come again." Won't we eat and drink in remembrance of Christ, who has given his love for us all, so that we can become our all in him? Amen.